What he said was that the night before the game, Ron Rivera pulled Cam aside, or Ron Rivera told Cam Newton, if you don't wear a tie tomorrow, I'm not going to start you. So Cam Newton showed up on the bus, sans tie, and Ron Rivera did not start him. So then Schrags, look, he's good, man. He does the Fox Sports thing. He does sideline for games, but he also does Good Morning Football over in the NFL Network. He said, hey, this is a bad look for Ron Rivera because the star quarterback, you tell him what to do, and he doesn't respect your authority so much that he pushes it. He almost challenges your authority, and then you hold him out for what became one play. Now, look, everyone takes something differently. I thought Ron Rivera looked good then. I think Ron Rivera looks even better now. And I understand that some of you are like, dude, you told him to wear a tie, and he didn't wear a tie. You should have sat in the whole game. But again, I asked, every once in a while when an NBA team's in town, I'll have lunch with somebody I know on the staff, player I know, coach I know. And Brad Stevens has been exceptionally kind with his time. And so last year, right around now, they came to town. They played the Nets on a back-to-back, and they had a day off in between. And so he texted me. He's like, hey, man, if you're coming in the city. And I was actually flying into the city, and I told my wife, like, hey, I'm going to go have dinner with Brad Stevens. She's like, do whatever. So I came in. We had a little sushi, like just random out of the. And so I started asking him some questions. Like, what's it like to coach in the NBA? Like, really? Like, things you can't necessarily ask on radio. So I just said, like, so let's say you have a guy who's willfully disobeying what you have asked him to do. Like, how do you handle that? Like, now, no matter how much money he makes, like he makes like $5 million, like these guys make more. It's a players' league. You can't just rip him out, and plus not a personality. You can't just rip out of the game and dog cuss him. Like, can you? Can you take him out of the game and then like bench him the rest of the game? Like, how do you handle it? And Brad said, like, look, you had to be firm with warmth. Was that firm with warmth? He said, like, look, we go over things before the game in walkthrough, or we talk about it when we're watching tape. We go over things in the locker room, and those have to, and whatever core values you have when they violate that, you have to at some point take them out of the game and say, like, are you helping us win, or are you helping us win, or are you helping us lose? And that's kind of the way he handles it. It's like, and then sometimes like you can actually make fun of guys where you tell a guy to not do something because he's going to get into foul trouble. He gets in foul trouble, and then instead of taking him out, you leave him out there, and he might get 5 fouls in the first half. Then we just laugh at him at the half because he got 5 fouls. So I do think there's a way in which you can do that and you're non-confrontational. Yes, Klug.
So after having lunch with Brad Stevens and telling him you wanted to ask him questions that you aren't able to ask him on the radio, you're proceeding to give his answers on the radio?
No, these weren't things that there's other things that he. We've actually talked about this on radio. But he did say, he's like, hey, it did sound funny. I know. It was a little bit like when we had our guy yesterday. We had Jay Wright. Jay Wright's like, I met my wife when I was working with the USFL football team. And then the next year he's up coaching at Rochester, coaching intramurals, and like the assistant basketball coach. He's like, I was 23, I was single. I was like, wait, didn't you just meet your wife? Like, well, no, it didn't come out right. We didn't get married then, 7 years later. So I think the point is this. I understand that there's a knee-jerk reaction to Ron Rivera should have taken him. Well, you're not going to wear a tie? You're not playing the whole game. You're not playing the whole quarter. But what you want to be firm with warmth. You want to have a backbone, but you can't be vindictive because they are grown men, but they're going to challenge authorities. I've always said this about players, and I was being a player myself, and I still have this mentality as like I'm a worker bee at CBS, is really talented people are like raptors. Do you remember the raptors in Jurassic Park? Do you remember what they did? he's like they're very smart, right? I mean, the guy, he has the outdoorsman gear on, and he's talking about how smart the Raptors are. They're clever. Like, they're always testing. Periodically we're testing the wires to see if they're still going to electrocute them. Right? It's like they knew they could figure out eventually how to open doors. Like, they were smart. They were constantly testing the wires, which is how alpha males are. Like, look, I'll abide within the rules. Every once in a while, I'm going to test you just to see. And, I got shocked. And then I get back in line. So I think Cam looks horrible in this. Your coach told you, hey, dude, wear a tie tomorrow, or I'm not starting you. And you're like, not doing it. And then he sits you down. And, like, look, to Cam's credit, after the game, he didn't complain about it. He owned it. And he said, like, coach doesn't think I'm dressed appropriately. I'm not dressed appropriately. What he says goes. Not the reason we lost the game.